NCTV45, The Train, anytime on your time.
This program was provided through funding from Cedars Restaurant in Newcastle, Pennsylvania. A special thanks to Cedars, featuring Middle Eastern, Italian, and American cuisine. Today's program was furnished by a grant from the Beanery Depot and Deli, featuring coffee, made-to-order subs, and snacks. The Beanery Depot and Deli in Mahoningtown.
Cedars Sports Corner, everybody. I'm Alex Laverson, and with me is our producer, Mr. Angelo Parada. And I think we're going to talk about what's on everybody's mind, what's fresh the most, and I think it's safe to say everyone is thinking about the Steelers, that Bengals game.
I was going to do impressions.
Go ahead, by all means. Well, there's a couple players, in your opinion, that do that. So which impersonation was that?
That was LeBron. I am going to cry all the way to the West Coast.
We are talking about the Steelers.
Okay, I can go with the Steelers.
Well, talking about, crying, a lot of fans are upset about the Juju Smith-Schuster suspension. And a lot of people are upset that Gronkowski, I don't know if you saw the illegal hit he had, but everyone's like, how can Gronkowski, who made a deliberate late hit, only get a one-game suspension? And Schuster gets the same, basically the same suspension for a hit that at the time seemed legal. It was during the course of action.
Listen, in New England, they ring the fire alarm when the Steelers go up there. Do you really think they're going to get penalized for anything? They're that lily white, oh, geez. No matter what they do wrong, everything's okay.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, it's hard for me to disagree with you. I mean, they got caught cheating in 2007, and Roger Goodell's like, we're just going to destroy the tapes. Yeah, we no one needs to see those,
Well, it was times of your life.
Yeah. But either way, I think, it's very easy to be frustrated with the NFL and the way they handle these suspensions and the penalties they dish out. I mean, I'll never forget when Ray Rice for the Baltimore Ravens knocked out his woman in the elevator, and he gets a 2-game suspension. And yes, I know that's a long time ago, but has it not seemed that since Goodell took over, there has never been any type of consistency? It's just been kind of like whatever happens, happens type of thing.
He's a kind of crafty guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, over in the NBA.
Oh, no. Good.
Why are the Cavaliers in trouble tonight?
Well, they've been on, 11-game winning streak.
Yeah, but they're in trouble tonight. Why?
I'm not sure who they're playing, to be honest.
They only have one king, and they're playing the Kings, and they'll have 5 on them.
So
5
versus
Kings
1 king.
Always beat one.
Well,
a little card game logic there.
Listen. LeBron James is really the equivalent of about 15 kings, because there's about 15 so players on an NBA team.
My God.
LeBron could go, as evidenced by him going back to the Cavaliers in 2014,
I need some smelling salts because I'm going to pass out.
Okay.
Okay, my game of the night in the NBA, Bulls and the Pacers.
Okay.
That's just going to be a good matchup.
The Bulls and Pacers. The Bulls are always a team that I'm going to have an affinity for growing up, because I grew up watching Michael Jordan.
Yeah, but
Scottie
then you
Pippen.
can't even talk about LeBron when you talk about them because he's not in their class.
Well, I would agree to that. I just don't think he's the best player in the world.
Now, the Cavs are at the Mavericks are at the Celtics, and for my son, the Heat and the Spurs.
The Heat and the Spurs.
And that the Spurs, they just keep getting older, but they don't lose.
The Spurs are that organization, like you said. It's like they keep getting older. They've never been flashy, but they've just always been just top of the line. They're just always there. Like they're winning championships. They don't have flash. They probably have the best, most non-exciting NBA player ever in Tim Duncan. I don't know if that makes any sense what I said, but they're just the pinnacle of a perfect organization. Honestly, if LeBron wants to leave Cleveland in search of beating the Golden State Warriors, if it's all about winning for him, he should join the Spurs.
No.
Listen, any great NBA player has had a great NBA coach. LeBron James has not had that coach. Him and Greg Popovich.
Nobody could put up with him.
That's it.
Listen, we got to go to a break.
Well, that is right. We're going to go to a break. Hopefully we can get back on track with the Steelers here. And so make sure you join us next segment. And now a
Funding
word from our
provided
sponsors.
by Four Brothers in downtown Newcastle. This program furnished by the MAD Unit, Mobile Auto Detailing. See Michael Sad at themadunit.com. Funding provided by Main Street Clothiers and Tailors, Washington Street, Newcastle.
Welcome back to the Cedar Sports Corner, everybody. Before we talk about the Steelers...
You wanted to talk about Duquesne and who they play tonight.
Exactly. That's exactly what I wanted to talk about, was Duquesne and who they play tonight.
Stenson and the Dukes are playing tonight. Now, see, the reason I mention this is if you have these sports channels, you can watch these various games. And I like to tell them what I think the best game is. Now, Richmond and Old Dominion's going to be pretty good, and I'm not going to be long here.
No,
Princeton and George Washington, William and Mary and George Mason. George Mason always has a good team, and Harvard and Fordham.
Mm-hmm.
So now I'll let you talk about the Steelers.
No, that's fine. I think...
Talk about my favorite quarterback.
Big Ben. Well, you know what? Speaking of Big Ben, I was actually, doing a lot of thinking, and what's the difference between the Steelers organization and the Bengals organization? And
The Steelers win.
Yeah, but why? What is it? Why have they been winning? Because think about it. Cincinnati, Pittsburgh, pretty much same population. Both aren't glamorous cities.
Listen,
Both have...
the owners of the Browns, or the Bengals, were one time in court because they weren't fielding a quality team. Get people, trade them, go free agents, and they just weren't doing it. Okay? They're still not really doing it. It's just hit and miss, whatever you get, wham, bam.
Well, that is absolutely true. I mean, Marvin Lewis has been there since...
He's a guy that should be let go.
Well, doesn't it seem like we have any NFL fan or anyone who's followed the NFL has been saying that, it seems like, for the past 30-some years. He's always been there, and he hasn't done anything.
I feel the same way about the AFC North as Billy Joel when he sings in his concert.
Okay. Elaborate.
Don't go changing to try and please me. I like you just the way you are.
Well, the Bengals organization must feel that way towards...
You got the Browns, the Bengals, the Ravens. And then the Steelers are in first, and it never really changes.
Well, you know what? I'll tell you what. In terms of the Steelers and Bengals, I feel like this has to be the NFL's most hated, chippiest passionate rivalry.
But it always was. Even when Paul Brown was with the Bengals and Noel was with the Steelers, the Cincinnati-Pittsburgh rivalry rivals the Pittsburgh-Cleveland rivalry or the Ravens rivalry with the Steelers.
I feel like the Steelers or Ravens was more intense a few years ago, not as much anymore.
No, it's still intense, but here's the thing. When Cincinnati plays Pittsburgh, even in baseball, a lot of people come right across 70 to see the game. When Pittsburgh plays Cleveland, it's always a rivalry. Okay? And when Pittsburgh plays the Ravens, it's always a rivalry. So that rivalry with Cincinnati is a very hated type thing. At least that's what it seems to come out as.
Well, yeah, I just think it's definitely increased. And, obviously Vontez Burfict, has a lot to do with that. I remember Carson Palmer, the Chad Ochocinco days of 2005. It was intense then, and I felt like the Steelers and Ravens rivalry was, basically for the next 10 years after that, really kind of went to the front. And then now just with everything, just so much, scrappiness, so much chippiness, the fights, the passion. And what did I say when we were off the air? Anyone who does not think the NFL wants this is kidding themselves. The NFL will say they don't want that, but there's a reason the Steelers and Bengals are on primetime TV on Monday night.
I wouldn't go that far.
I will go that far. It's a business.
I can't make an accusation. You can't make an accusation.
With the NFL, I think it's safe to say business is first. That's just the way I look at it.
If business was first, they'd be standing for the anthem.
But it's money.
If,
You know what I mean? They want to bring in ratings.
And ratings isn't money. They didn't stand for the anthem. They lost their shirt.
Well, they won't even show that now. Well, I don't know. That's really more the networks of the NFL. But think about it now. Now, the anthem thing, I feel like has phased out a lot.
You gave me a LeBron swing and miss.
What are you talking about?
Listen, if the question came up and Roger Goodell said everybody stands, everybody would have to stand. Roger Goodell sat on his hands. The only one, God bless, Texas. Dallas, they came out and said, look.
Jerry Jones.
Yeah. And
But just don't you think from a ratings viewpoint, now more than ever, they know people want to see that. Even though I feel like they've definitely...
no, because Cincinnati doesn't carry a national audience. Only Pittsburgh does.
Yeah, and that's the point. Although they know that since that game will bring the hits, the hatred, the controversy, that they could put that on there. That's the way I look at it.
They're trying to market too many things. We got to go to break, but they're trying to market too many things. They have that play day, the flag football. I don't think the NFL is into that anymore.
Well, this is definitely going to be a conversation we're going to have in a later show. But come back and join us for our third segment. And now, a word from our sponsors.
Today's programming is brought to you by NCTV45 and NC Radio 450, Newcastle's community television station. This program furnished by Sporting Goods, 23 East Washington Street, Newcastle. Call 724-658-2535. These fine businesses provided funding for this program. Gatherings, Town and Country, and On Target.
Welcome back to our third and final segment of the Cedars Sports Corner. I hope all of you enjoyed our first two segments, but now let's shift a little bit and let's talk about college football. And we all know who the Final Four teams are in for the college football playoff, and our producer has some pretty interesting things to say about the Ohio State snub.
Well, the whole bowl game thing is out of control because the Southern teams always get more votes. Okay, for instance, when you have Alabama and Ohio State as a virtual tie, you should pick Notre Dame. Now, you can't, there isn't, Alabama played Mercer. Okay? That's not just a win, that's worth 3 wins because you don't have to be prepared before or after you play Mercer. Mercer's a no offense to Mercer fans out there. Okay, so I would have not picked Alabama. I would have picked Clemson. I would have picked, Georgia, and I would have picked Oklahoma. Now, it is my understanding that Boise State in the Mountain West is undefeated. And I'm not totally sure about that. But there was one team that was undefeated, and I don't know if it was U.S. Central Florida or Boise State. All I believe is that you take the conference champion and you play them off. So you're going to have an ACC, an SEC, a Big 12, a Big 10, a Pac-10,
Mountain West, MAC.
Mountain West. Yeah.
Conference USA. Well, you got to do it for all of them.
If you let MAC in, yeah. Okay, you're going to only have 8 conferences as it is. And you tell Notre Dame, pick a conference and play out of it. Okay, you're playing out of the ACC. If you go undefeated in the ACC, you're in the ACC championship game. That's it. Okay, because Notre Dame's games are tougher than a conference schedule in the ACC. Yeah. Okay. You just don't throw Alabama in and say, well. And I don't even care for Ohio State. However,
it's like Nick Saban's the godfather of college football. You don't cross Saban and the Tide. I agree with you. It's just the simplest way. I feel like making conference champions and making a playoff out of those teams.
Now, and here's another statement. Wisconsin was undefeated until their loss to Ohio State. So why did they get it? University of Central Florida is undefeated.
See, and that's kind of the thing. I feel like for just any team, no matter what conference, to go undefeated, you obviously have to be good, and that's no small thing to do. I mean, look how many upsets happened in college football. Look what happened in Miami. They lost their last game to Pitt. It's very easy and common to be upset by smaller schools.
And I don't like Notre Dame's matchup against LSU. I feel that Notre Dame's matchup should have been with Penn State.
Who's Penn State playing?
Penn State's playing Washington, which is another bad matchup.
That's what I was trying to say. I'm not really looking forward to that.
There's just bad matchups. Okay. USC, Ohio State, I guess, is okay, but I would have put Wisconsin in or Ohio State in rather than Alabama.
Right. With college football, it kind of seems like it's the only thing for sure is nothing's for sure. And Kirk Herbstreit once said something that I feel kind of makes sense, but he said in college football, it's not all about finding out who the national champion is. Thinking about it, with the old BCS system, it basically made every game a playoff, even when Powers would play 1AA schools like YSU. I'm not advocating for the BCS to come back. I'm glad it's gone. But college football as a whole, I do feel like is more than just finding out who your national champion is. It's like just the whole thing in general, making it...
Well, Pitt ought to do well with the new coach they got today at the press conference. He seemed promising, even in his name.
And what is that?
Win one soon.
Soon.
He's a Chinese guy. They got to come.
Well, for what, basketball or football?
He's going to do both. He's going to
do both. I'll tell you what, Pitt basketball has won 4 in a row now. Maybe get a little bit of momentum. Yeah, look, I'll be talking forever, but that we could talk about that on another show. But I think that wraps up today's episode of this Cedars Sports Corner. And any last words?
Let's go Dukes.
Let's go, Dukes. All right, you all have a good one, everybody.
Funding provided by Four Brothers in downtown Newcastle. A special thanks to the YMCA for caring about the Lawrence County community and providing funding for this program.